When I started my study of product design here at Minerva, I was interested in a lot of materials like epoxy, hardwood and plastic things that had a certain look to it that I really appreciated, but I realized quite quickly over time that it's not very sustainable. From this frustration and a budget necessity, I started working with waste materials I could find around my own environment, starting from my trash can. From plastic bags to other stuff I could find, to see if I could make prototypes or in the end products from these kind of materials. So my focus went from visually pleasing materials to more conscious materials. While working with the waste I could find in my trash can, I realized this added a certain characteristic or story to my product. I made some bags out of trash I could find in the street. I experimented with melting this stuff, pressing it and seeing how I could work with it. My focus now is mostly on fashion design. I also try to improve my skills within fashion design, from choosing the right recycled materials and working with them to learning how to use the sewing machine. But the main question that came to my mind was, can I work with trash or with waste streams and turn this into useful or renewable products? So during this time I also tried to broaden my horizon at the beginning of the examination year. See what is considered as waste material. And instead of only using plastics, I started to use fabrics in my stuff. I started to use other waste materials. So my focus now was mostly on perfecting and creating better fashion design. At this time, my teacher and promoter Jacques Brandsma introduced me to a company in Groningen called Risa, and they create recycled cellulose fiber, otherwise known to most people as recycled toilet paper, which you can see in here. And because of its bad reputation and the properties it maybe could possess, I think it fitted in my research and in my interest that I had before in a very proper way. This material was my main focus for my graduation project this year. So, taking a deep dive into this new material and research project, I had to find a way of starting this project. I got two materials from, one known as a paper fiber and one is the paper fiber mixed with a plastic, also known as a biocomposite. These were the starting points of my new experimentation. The plastic version, the biocomposite, fitted very well into the previous researches I did in second and third year of melting plastics and working with plastic bags. So this is my starting point. From here I tried to experiment with it in a very analog and practical way by heating it with a small toaster oven, pressing it in a panini press, finding out what the workable temperatures are and how it would behave were the first steps I did. But while working with the plastic, I realized quickly that this was not the solution or application I was looking for. It's still a mix with a new added material, biocomposable plastic, which makes it very workable and look nice, but in ways of recycling, it makes it a bit difficult to work with it because it's still contaminated. My main focus then shifted more towards the paper, the raw product, because this is less poisonous to work with, it's different applications. And from here I started making pieces of paper with the sheet press to see if I could turn the fiber back into its original product. Like a piece of toilet paper you can see here. And from here on I figured out it had a lot of different applications, from isolation material to paper packaging to recyclable or renewable or biodegradable products like flower pots and other stuff. As long as it's not in contact with food directly, it's a very interesting and workable material. I started mixing it with biodegradable glues and this kind of stuff, from yeast and sugar mix to almost like a bread dough, like a tortilla bread dough. And later I started using milk-based glues and other solutions, from gelatine to binders and glues, to see what I could do with it. In combination with the press, this resulted in some very interesting products or applications. So after this first period of experimenting with the material and figuring out how it could work and what circumstances it would behave, I needed to be more in control of my research. I joined the Material Magic program, which is focused or based around experimenting in a controlled way with new materials. And this brought my graduation project to new stage, I should say. This was for the first time I started a control testing series with ReCell or other different materials based around the material magic program, like magnesium cement and water, to create the series you can see over here, in which I tried to figure out all the characteristics of my different mixes, materials, and see what was workable and what was not, by testing it step by step. After which I got a bunch of experimentations, all with their own properties and lessons I learned from them. And together with the research I did before, from pressing with the plastics to melting to finding binders, natural binders or degradable binders. For my paper research, I finally, at this point during my graduation year, figured out I was in control over my process so far. I also joined the Madame program this year, which is organized by Andrea Sultins and Jacques Brandsma. And this is based around a new way of working with new materials. This is a master program that's probably going to start in 2022. But together with a motivated group of students, we try to see what is possible in working with new materials and how you would approach this. From here, I finally figured out what actually I was doing, what was important for me working with biodegradable materials or waste streams and these kind of interests. I had a better understanding of what I was working with, why I'm doing this, and what could be done in the future with this, for example. Okay, so the conclusion to my whole graduation year. Can I answer my own question or dilemma, and which is, can you work with waste streams and can you make new or biodegradable or conscious products out of waste streams? And I think the answer to this is yes. As long as you have the right tools and the right equipment and could continue researching these kind of topics, I think there's a lot of possible with what's already around you. So problems I encountered during my graduation project had to do with the COVID-19 situation and the availability of spaces, machines and tools I needed to use. I think I overcame these problems by improvising in certain ways. Instead of using the proper machines, I used panini presses, ovens and other unconventional solutions. And I think this way of handling problems and coming up with unconventional solutions is part of my design. In the future, I want to continue experimenting and working with biodegradable or renewable and new materials. I think I can change their perception, make them functional, and I hope I can motivate people to use these kind of new materials in their own projects. Get rid of the new virgin materials, already use what's around you, what's already existing, and change the image of it, make it more appealing. There's still a lot of projects I want to undertake, a lot of experiments I still want to do, especially working with fungus, biodegradability, and mycelium are topics that come to mind or I'm already working on. But I think there's way more possible with the right tools, research, funding, and motivation. Thank you for watching my presentation.